Tonight is December 9th, 2020. This is a meeting of the Acushnet Lake Street Committee. Is there a motion to open the meeting? Scott?
Yes, motion open.
Is there a second, Brian?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Roll call vote. Scott?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Great, thank you very much. And I'm David Wonar, serving as the ex officio chair of the Lake Street Committee. So first of all, a couple updates. I know we're short on folks attending tonight, but either way, we've got some really exciting news. And first and foremost, want to start things off by thanking the residents of Acushnet and those who attended town meeting for approving the $75,000 expenditure of CPC funds to the Lake Street project. I think that's great on multiple fronts. Once it shows the interest that people have in this project. I know looking at social media and some of the posts out there, it's really generated a great deal of interest. Hey, Sergeant, how are you? Hi, Mike. How's things? Can you see us? Can you hear us, Mike?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
Great, thank you. I was just talking about town meeting, thanking the residents and taxpayers for their support of the $75,000 appropriation. So first and foremost, Scott Daggett, who's leading our efforts on the water restoration, he's done some outreach to Solitude so we can give an update on that, where that stands. And that's, I think it's important to keep that moving so we can hit the ground running in the spring. And we've got a little bit of time to work on that. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Scott, to provide an update.
All right, so just before town meeting, I contacted the people at Solitude initially to try to get an estimate based on how much it would cost to remove the weeds from each individual pond. I have not received that information yet. I'm hoping to get that information soon. I gave them all of the available information that I had referring to surface areas of the ponds and average depths. They said they needed that information, so I'm assuming it gives them an idea as to how much chemical or how much mechanical aspects of their job that they're going to actually have to do. As of today, I contacted another individual over at Solitude to get some idea as to where the water quality testing report is. It's been a couple of weeks, or about 3 weeks since they've been out there, so I'm hoping to get that soon. The person I spoke to, they're going to be calling a local representative here who had actually done the inspection and did the water quality report. And hopefully within the next couple of days to a week, I'll get some information on that.
Okay, great. One of the things that sticks out, and I was reviewing some documents, and we can get it out to the committee, but our relationship with the city of New Bedford, and essentially they've given us the green light to do work over there. What we'll have to do is, once we come up with the scope of services, provide that to them. But it occurred to me, Scott, that we should be reaching out to the Conservation Commission. And I know Marilee is our representative, but I think it would be a nice gesture and a courtesy to ask to, once we get the full report from Solitude on what needs to take place and what the results are of the water test, the water testing, is maybe, Scott, if it's okay, if you would take that on and serve as our representative to the Conservation Commission, sort of serve as our liaison to that body. And keep them informed, because at some point my guess is we're going to have to do some filings over there, and we just want to maintain that relationship, and we don't want it to be the first time they hear from us when we go for the filing. So maybe you can just update them on occasion.
Yeah, so you want me to update Marilee, or do you want me to?
No, I think it would be Marilee's in on it, but I just think it would be a nice gesture to go before to work with Marilee and ask to be put on their agenda, one of these upcoming, once we have a fuller picture, and just go before the full Conservation Commission. It'll be a Zoom meeting like this, so it wouldn't take too much of your time, but I do think it would make sense to do that, because I don't want, when we actually go for filing, for that to be the first time that they hear from us.
Yeah. I try keeping Marilee in the loop. I know she had mentioned to me that she wanted to be there when they did the water quality testing.
Mhm.
They didn't even give me any idea as to when they were going to be out there, so I had no way to,
Sure.
inform her of that.
No worries. Things happen. It's all
Yeah,
good.
but I'll keep her informed. I'll keep her in the loop as to
Okay.
what's going on. And when I gather up all the information, then I'll contact her with all the information.
Great. Good, good. All right, well, that's good stuff. And then I think, at some point, obviously, once we get our full report and we have some real good stuff to present, then I'll initiate some conversations with the city of New Bedford in a more structured manner to see what the long-term prospects are there. I think it would make sense, obviously, for us to try to acquire ownership. But if it's not that, then it's, 100-year lease at $1 a year. There's ways to do that to achieve our goals. Hey, Joe, how are you? Thanks for
Very
joining
good
us.
yourself. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. We're
Sorry I missed.
not much. All stuff you already know anyway. Just talking about some of the testing. The real headliner of this meeting and the real show, quite frankly, is our guest, Al Amaral. Al is the CAD instructor at Old Colony. And Al has been a great friend to the town of Acushnet on some really important projects where he served on the library committee, the building committee there, and also the police station building committee, and has really helped us along the way with those projects and save money, really, quite frankly, with some of the sweat equity that Al has put into that. And unsolicited, Al contacted me a couple weeks ago and is generously offered to partner up with us and utilize the bright minds and students at Old Colony and to help give us some technical support on a whole host of things. One of the things that I was kind of not nervous about, but concerned about was the ability to put all of these great ideas into some type of document and some type of visual aids that'll help us get a real idea of what's possible there. And so thankfully that great Christmas present to have Al step up. So Al, maybe if you can just talk a little bit about yourself and what you think the class and your students can deliver for us. And as we had spoken offline, I think maybe the best use of Al's services would be on the whole beautification and utilization aspect of that project.
Sounds good.
And so Al, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you for the intro. Good evening, everybody. So I am a town resident. I live on Golfview Road. And I think what we can do is, as far as the school and my students are involved, I'm the architectural drafting instructor. So I think we can help sort of with the master planning of the project, and also outlining what your timeline is and prioritizing what the projects are and anything that requires any sort of construction. I know David had mentioned that the DPW is very resourceful, and you can get a lot done with their services, but they need a roadmap for it. So whatever sort of planning that's required, whether it's a portion of the area gets dedicated to a playground or some type of picnic area or whatever it is, we can create those documents on paper so that they have the roadmap to build those, but also outline those things in somewhat of a master plan. Like, this is year one or phase one, this is phase two. And then with those documents, you can put some costs associated with them and map out, when things get done and how they get paid for or funded, et cetera, and just get everything on paper. And, we can be available to any of the committee members. I'll make my email available. You could always reach me at Old Colony. And I don't know if there's going to be a chair, if there's going to be subcommittees. But, once we get all those things outlined, you're welcome to call us and say, hey, I'm working on this. One of the things we want to do is we want to put maybe signage at different points throughout for whatever it might be. It might even be some signage to identify some natural wildlife or what have you. We can design that signage, put together a package, and beyond CAD. We've got our carpentry students. We've got a graphics department. If need be, we can physically build or make some of the products you may need. We've got machine and tool, welding. We've got a lot of resources. We're limited to having students leave the building because of COVID restrictions. But if there are things that could be built within the school, even if it's picnic tables or benches or seating, that could be manufactured in-house and then shipped out to the site. And quite honestly, it's a win-win for everybody because our students are involved in community projects. We have a lot of students that live in Acushnet. They love going by and seeing things that they've put their hands on, and will be there for quite a bit of time. So I think we've got a lot to offer, and we just want to be available however you see fit. We'll see what we can do. We're also up against COVID. We could be in school for 2 weeks and we could be at home for a month. So we're kind of up against some setbacks that might come about as well.
And that's fine. You know what, Al, that's fine. You raised a good point. So why don't I just give you just a brief, 1-minute synopsis of how the committee's structured. Because we have gotten so much interest, I think we've got 14 committee members. The last thing I wanted to do when we put this together was limit anybody. So my feeling was if somebody had an interest, you're more than welcome to serve on the committee. There's no such thing as a bad idea. That said, because we have so many members, I'm not taking attendance at every meeting. So somebody makes it, great. If they can't, not a big deal. This is going to be a rolling process. So what we decided to break it down into 3 subcommittees, and I'm glad you raised that, is that we've got a water restoration and remediation subcommittee that Scott Daggett is sort of become the de facto head of because he was the guy who really brought this issue to the forefront and drove this. We've got a public safety subcommittee, and we've got Mike Matten and Gary Coppa and Erica Ruda, who are looking at the safety components of things, what we do with guardrails and signage. And, like Erica Ruda made a great point. It's not about just, where you can walk across, but also having signage up about water safety and what to do when you're on a boat and things like that. So that's one component. And then the other piece, Al, is the beautification and utilization subcommittee, which is, what do we do there? Do we have a gazebo? Do we have, kayak launches? Do we figure out a way to get ice skating on the ponds or what have you? So I think there's a home for everybody, and, we can work, we can set you up with the subcommittees. But I think you being able to tie all this stuff together, I think will be a huge benefit for us, and something that your students can do if they have to work from home. I mean, that's stuff that you can assign to them, and now with technology, I'm more than happy to address the students and give them the rah-rah speech, and they're welcome to join our meetings and learn from us. But by the same token, I have a feeling that we're going to learn from them more than they'll learn from us. So I'm pretty excited about it. About this great opportunity. And you talked about a mission statement. We haven't done that, but I think the way we've structured things, that's the mission, water restoration, safety, and beautification. Those are the 3 pillars of this committee. So gentlemen, I've done all the talking. Brian, Scott, Joe, Mike, anything you want to offer up to Al?
At the moment, no.
Okay. I think just really getting organized is probably one of the challenges that we might have, again, because we have so many folks on the committee, is just really getting organized and being willing to delegate and just say, hey, Al, go work with this group for now. So for you to help us with that tying everything together as a facilitator, Al, I think would be really helpful to us.
Yeah, I think I mean, it sounds like you have kind of three major areas identified.
Mhm.
I don't know if, as a whole committee, if does everybody have an understanding that those are the three target areas at this point?
We do. Yep. Yep. And so like the big benchmark for us, the big milestone was obtaining the $75,000 like that. So that's where all of our focus has been for the last month or two, is leading up to town meeting. And now that we know that we've got that appropriation, I think we've targeted the water restoration as an important piece, because that's probably going to take the most money. And we're working with, we'll get with Mike and Gary and Eric on what that public safety report should look like, or those recommendations, and maybe Al, we filter those to you. Once we get that, would that make sense? Get all that information and send it to you, and then you can assemble it in a plan.
I think what you should consider doing, and I don't know if you've done it, haven't done it, where you are in terms of some of the steps. If you've identified three major areas, I think one of the first things you should probably consider doing, if you haven't, is decide on who's going to chair that category.
Mhm.
And then out of those 14 members, figure out who's going to be part of which subcommittee, right? If there are people who, hey, I have an interest in the public safety aspect of it, so get everybody on a separate committee. And then you can sit down and have a little bit of a brainstorming session and for each subcommittee. And you just, you get a big piece of whiteboard and everybody starts jotting down what the sort of ideas are. Okay. And then you get all these on paper, and then you start to look at them. And as a whole, you narrow those down and you say, okay, out of these 20 ideas, these want to be the focal points. And then you kind of you create that master list, and then you decide, okay, how do we go about getting these 6 things accomplished on this list? And out of those 6, what are the priorities, or what are the ones that we can get done right away? Or is there a timeline that they have to be done sequential? So I think you got to kind of get everybody on the same page first, and get a lot of these things down on paper.
Okay.
So that's just kind of my suggestion. I don't know how much of that you've done or haven't, or.
Again, I think we've done it structurally, we've done it conceptually rather, but haven't put pen to paper. And so, maybe what the right approach might be, based on what you're suggesting, is that with proper notice, maybe we can get everybody, I don't know, after the holidays or, after the first of the year, maybe schedule a Saturday morning. And I guess, we're going to have to do it all by Zoom. It's just, ask for an all hands on deck. And then maybe, Al, what we could do is, prior to then, figure out who wants to be on the public safety subcommittee and schedule a time slot for them to all log in. And then we can go through that, and just sort of go, 1 hour per subcommittee, and then do it that way, collect all the thoughts and information, and then we can start to compile it. Is that something you'd be willing to facilitate? And I could co-do that with you, Al? Or was that something you'd want to do with the kids? Or tell me about that process, what you envision there.
I think it might be a little tricky to do with the students.
Okay.
I'd be glad to help kind of navigate through it.
Okay.
It's very similar to, for instance, I know the town's talked about updating the master plan.
Yeah.
At some point in time, that master plan was done. I don't know if it was 6 or 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but it's a very similar process,
Mhm.
right? So you identify what the key goals are, you break that down, and then you have a little working group session, and everybody talks through those things. So yeah, I'd be glad to help try and facilitate those. They would have to be, so we're looking at 3 subcommittees, is that right?
Yes.
So
That's
yeah,
sort of,
they'd almost have to take place individually.
right. That's what I was thinking. Like, so we did one at 9, 10, and 11. Those are interested in the public safety, log in at 9, run from 9 to 10, and just
Right.
keep going down the line, right? Is that what you're thinking? Okay.
Yep. And, you know, you just need to identify, if you haven't already, who the chairperson's going to be. And then somebody just, is going to be the record keeper during that session. Ideally, whoever's hosting, if it's going to be a Zoom meeting, whoever's hosting it should be the one recording, because then they'll be able to share their screen.
Got it.
So they can pull up like a Google Doc up on their screen and just start typing in, the things that and I could do that if
Yeah, I'll defer to Nick on that, because all of this stuff comes through Zoom, so it goes through Acushnet cable access. So it's not like David Warner's account or Al's account. So I'll talk with Nick about doing that. And so Brian, we had talked before the meeting started about creating a survey of the members. Maybe that's something you and I can talk about, like just really using it to get organized on a survey. Who wants to serve on what subcommittee?
Sure.
Actually appoint that, and then talk about, just to get people's juices flowing on what they'd like to see. What do they think their top 5 things they would like to see? And
Okay.
figure something out, right?
Are there any existing documents that show, the land area immediately alongside Lake Street and the lakes themselves?
Yep. Right, Scott? I think we have all that from.
Yeah, that's something that I can easily get. I pretty much do that day in, day out with my job as a civil engineer. I'm always doing, land documentation research. So that's something that I could easily figure out. I had already given you, I think, a copy of the plan of the property that's between the 2 lakes where the parking areas are. And there's more research that I have yet to do. If you want me to, like Al mentioned, maybe get a list of abutters of all the property owners along the shorelines of each lake or each pond, so that we have that. Because I'm sure, when we start doing these things, we're going to have to send out notifications to some of the abutters to let them know that, we're doing some things to the ponds, and I'm sure it's part of the permitting process anyways, when we go through conservation, that you have to notify the abutters on some of these projects. So that's something I could easily do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to have a document, even to geographically identify kind of where the starting point is and where the ending point is in terms of the scope of the project. I mean, it doesn't need to follow the water line, but I think in terms of Lake Street itself, is it from Middle Road to Main Street, or is it from the first parking area to the end of the bridge? Like where is the scope of the project going to be? I don't know if that's been identified, but even if we can kind of, put that on paper, that would be helpful too.
Yeah. I think that pretty much primarily the scope of work for beautification and improvement would be the areas along the street that buffer the lakes, and the property between the 2 lakes where all the parking areas are, where we propose to put walking trails eventually, and then the limits of the lakes themselves that we plan on doing weed removal. So yeah, I don't think the scope of work would be from Middle Road to Main Street. It would have to be much smaller than that. I think it's just generally the immediate areas near the lakes.
Yeah, I mean, I would think for each particular subcommittee, it would be helpful just to have an overview, like a picture, whether you're brainstorming or, whether it's safety or beautification, you can see, this is an overview of what I'm looking at. This is what it encompasses. So I think that would be very helpful for everybody to have.
Yes. Hey, Nick, I don't know if you can hear me, if you're still here or not, but I guess we could always, with our Zoom screen, we could pull it up and just have it, at the bottom of the screen or something like that. So we at least always have it,
like a share. Someone could share. You mean like a share screen?
I think so. Yeah. Something like that. So we always have the, we always have it up and talking about it, right?
Yeah, that would work.
All right. Good, good. One of the other things I'm going to look into is that we do have an appropriation, and it might make sense. You know, we have some people who you know, like serve as the recording secretaries for the you know, like different boards, and it's a paid position, but it's not, you know, but if somebody wants to put a few bucks in their pocket, not a lot of money, but I think that might be helpful to us, you know. So it's you know, there's a process to that, and it's all kept, and it's collated, and you know, it's a running document. So I'm going to look into that to see if we might be able to get that resource for us, because I got to be honest, it's beyond my skill. That there's some things that I'm decent at, and there's some things that I'm not good at, and that piece of it, the secretarial side of thing, is not my expertise, unless somebody here wants to step up. But that's you know, sometimes that can be a little arduous, you know. So so I'll look into that as well to see if we might be able to pull that off and get that resource for the committee, at least to help us get organized, Al. And I think that'll take a little bit of pressure off some people as well. So is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? So I guess from an action item standpoint, Scott, you'll work on pulling together some, you know, just the lay of the land over there, right? And what things, the topography and some vision, you know, some mapping. So we all have that, and we're all working off the same page.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of mapping, someone had shared photos earlier of from an
Dave
aerial
DeRoche.
drone.
Yeah, Selectman DeRoche.
Is that something that we could do where we could get like an aerial drone photograph of the entire, I guess maybe each individual lake or all 4 lakes?
Yeah.
Use that as a
Why not?
basis where we can, you know, kind of pinpoint, well, this is where we're going to put trails, this is where we're going to put new parking, this is where we're going to put a bandstand, and you know, be able to make some kind of a presentation from that.
Yeah. Now, Al, is that a resource you guys have? If not, I don't know. Mike,
I have a drone.
you do?
We have a drone. Yeah, we could set that up.
All right. Perfect. Well, if that's something you can do, Brian, if you want to take that on.
Absolutely.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. That'd be huge. That's
David,
great.
I think one of the first things we're going to concentrate on is getting the lakes all marked out with a map, and, you know, making a bulletin board over there so we could, you know, tell everybody the name of the lakes and what's in it and all that. And at the same time, on the other side is like put a plan of what we plan to do on there so everybody can see it.
Great idea. That's a great idea. You know what, Joe, you make a really good point, and maybe we could do something. Al, maybe this is something you could take back to the school and just have a nice sign made, you know, future site of Lake Street improvement or something like that, just to kind of get a little buzz going over there, you know. If that's something that maybe the school, somebody could design and make over there.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I think it would make sense to make that a public sort of document, if you will, once all the plan is outlined. You know what I mean? I think it'd be ideal to have that once you know, hey, this area is going to be recreational boating, and then we're going to have family area over here. I think it would be good to have a conceptual layout and just kind of depict some of the future plans. There doesn't necessarily have to be a timeline at this point, but I think if you want to put something out there in the public as to, hey, this is what's on its way, we can certainly help with that. We can actually make the physical sign and have it have the graphics printed.
Yeah, I think so. Like even just now, it doesn't have to be, you know, the long term would be to do something a little more detailed, but even if it's just something now to get people talking about it, you know, even if it just, you know, said.
Yeah, we can get more interest with other people with a big sign being there, like, you know what I mean to say?
Okay. Yeah, we can look into that for sure. All right, so we got Brian's going to do the drone. Scott, you're going to work on, you know, getting the lay of the land over there. And Al, I'll get with you offline to talk about a day, like a planning day. I don't know how you guys feel, but is it like a Saturday? Just, you know, maybe dedicate a Saturday morning. And again, we have to do it by Zoom, unfortunately.
How about instead of Zoom, David, we could all meet there, 6 feet apart with masks and all that other stuff, walk around the site so you could be more familiar with it.
We could do that. I'm just, taking into account a January, a January morning.
The weather, yeah.
Might be like, so, we can figure that out, and I don't know what the meeting, I guess we're sort of, again, we're bound by, restrictions on how many people can be in a room. So I'll try to figure that out, but if we have to do
Yeah,
it
we could do it outside on Lake Street,
Okay. All right. We'll see how that goes. But you think a Saturday morning would be okay to steal an hour of time from the different subcommittee members? We'll pick maybe second week of January, something like that. Realistic.
Yeah, and I can work on getting the survey for the subcommittee, who wants to be on what, and then whatever other questions you might have, David, as far as having, maybe identifying top 3 or 4 issues for each subcommittee, just to get something going.
All right, that'd be great. And I'll shoot you an email but if you have suggestions, Brian, as well, I think we can kind of surmise what people are interested in.
Sure.
Public safety, signage,
Right.
for pedestrian, guardrails, so on and so forth.
Yep.
So anyway, okay. Well, this is good. Al, any parting thoughts, Al, on your end? Any suggestions?
No, if you want to make my contact information available to the rest of the committee,
Okay.
you can
I'll do that.
gladly send it out to them and they could reach out at any point. I can be available while I'm at school to respond to things fairly easily.
This is great. Okay. Well, thank you. Guys, honestly, and for those who couldn't join us tonight, and to the residents, I want to thank you for your involvement in this, and to Scott for really pushing it, because I was talking to somebody the other day with all this COVID stuff that's going on. It's I think if the more we can provide these little things, these quality of life things, provides a little light at the end of the tunnel for people, and if we can pull this off in the spring and the summertime, I think it'll be well worth the time and effort over the winter. So thank you for being involved in doing this, and it'll be a worthwhile project for sure. And Al, thank you for popping out of nowhere. I think your help with the students is a godsend. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. All right. If that's it, guys, we'll call a motion to adjourn the meeting, and have a safe, happy holidays. And if you need anything in the meantime, let me know.
Okay.
The motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a nice night, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Everybody have a good holiday.
All right, you got it.